Forrest Gump by Winston Groom. Let me say this. Being an idiot is no box of chocolates. People laugh, lose patience, treat you shabby. Now they say folks supposed to be kind to the afflicted. Let me tell you, ain't always that way. Even so, I get no complaints, because I reckon I done live a pretty interesting life, so to speak. I've been an idiot since I was born. My IQ is nearly 70, which qualifies me, so they say. Probably, though, I'm closer to being an imbecile, maybe even a moron. But personally, rather think of myself as like a half-wit or something, and not no idiot. Because when people think idiot, moron likely, they'd be thinking of one of those Mongolian idiots, the ones with their eyes too close together, what looks like Chinamen on draw a lot and play with themselves. Now I'm slow, I'll grant you that. But I'm probably a lot brighter than folks think. Because what goes on in my mind is a sight different than what folks see. For instance, I can think things pretty good. But when I got to try saying or writing them, kind of come out like jello or something. I'll show you what I mean. The other day, I'm walking down the street and this man was out working in his yard. He got himself a bunch of shrubs to plant, and he say to me, "Forrest, you want to earn some money?" And I says, "Uh-huh." And so he sets me to moving dirt, damn near 10 or 12 wheelbarrows of dirt, in the heat of the day, trunking it all over creation. When I'm through, he reach in his pocket for $1. What I should have done was raised Cain about the low wages, but instead, I took the damn dollar. All I could say was thanks, or something dumb sounding like that. And I went on down the street, wadding and unwadding, that dollar in my hand, feeling like an idiot. You see what I mean? Now, I know something about idiots. Probably the only thing I do know about. But I done read about them, all the way from the Dostoevsky guy's idiot to King Lear's Faulkner's idiot, Benji, even old Boo Radley to Kill a Mockingbird. Now he was a serious idiot. The one I like best though is old Lenny in Of Mice and Men. Most of them writer fellas get it straight, because their idiots are always smarter than people give them credit for. Hell, I'd agree with that. Any idiot would. Hee. When I was born, my mama named me Forrest, because a General Nathan Bedford Forrest fought in the Civil War. Mama always said we was kin to General Forrest's family, some ways. And he was a great man, she say. Except he started up the Ku Klux Klan, after the war was over. And even my grandma says they're a bunch of no goods, which I would tend to agree with, because down here, the grand exalted pish posh or whatever he calls himself operate a gun store in town on once. When I was maybe 12-year-old, walking by there, looking in the window, and he got a big hangman's noose strung up inside. When he seen me watching, he done throwed it around his own neck and jerk it like he was hanged, let his tongue stick out to scare me. I done run off and hid in a parking lot behind some cars. Still, someone called the police. They come and take me home to my mama. So whatever else old General Forrest done, starting up that clan, thing was not a good idea. Any idiot could tell you that. Nonetheless, that's how I got my name. My mama is a real fine person. Everybody says that. My daddy, he got killed just after I was born, so I never known him. He worked down to the docks as a longshoreman, and one day a crane was taking a big net load of bananas off one of them United Fruit Company boats, and something broke on the bananas, fell down on my daddy and squished him flat as a pancake. One time I heard some men talking about the accident, say it was a hell of a mess. 1/2 ton of all them bananas, and my daddy squished underneath. Don't care for bananas much myself, except for banana pudding. I like that all right. My mama got a little pension from the United Fruit people, and she took in boarders at our house. So we got by okay. When I was little, she kept me inside a lot, so as the other kids wouldn't bother me in the summer afternoons when I was real hot. She used to put me down in the parlour, pulled the shades so it was dark and cool, fix me a pitcher of limeade. Then she'd sit there and talk to me, just talk on about nothing in particular, like a person would talk to a dog or cat. But I got used to it and liked it because her voice made me feel safe and nice. At first, when I was growing up, she let me go out and play with everybody. But then she found out that he's teasing me and all. One day, a boy hit me in the back with a stick while they were chasing me, and it raised some fearsome welt. After that, she told me not to play with them boys anymore. I started trying to play with the girls, but that weren't much better. They all ran away from me. Mama thought it would be good for me to go to the public school. Maybe it would help me to be like everybody else, but after I'd been there a little while, they come and told Mama I ought to be in there with, I'd not to be all in there to someone else, everybody else. They let me finish out first grade though. Sometimes I'd sit there while the teacher was talking. I don't know what was going on in my mind, but I'd start looking out the window at the birds and squirrels and things that was climbing and setting in a big old oak tree outside. And then the teacher would come over and fuss at me. Sometimes I'd just get this real strange thing come over me, start shouting and all. Then she'd make me go out and sit on a bench in the hall. The other kids, they'd never play with me or nothing. Kept on chasing me or getting me to start hollering so they could laugh at me. All except Jenny Curran, who at least didn't run away from me, and sometimes she'd let me talk. She'd let me walk next to her going home after class. But the next year, they put me in another sort of school. Let me tell you, it was weird. It was like they'd gone around collecting all the funny fellas that could put them all together, ranging from my age and younger to big old boys, about 16, 17. They were retards, all kinds. Spasmos and kids that couldn't even eat or go to the toilet by themselves. I was probably the best of the lot. There was one big fat boy, must have been 14 or so, and he was afflicted with some kind of thing made him shake like he's in an electric chair or something. Miss Margaret, our teacher, made me go in the bathroom with him when he had to go, so he wouldn't do nothing weird. He'd done it anyway. He'd done it anyway. I didn't know no way of stopping him, so I just locked myself in one of the stalls and stayed there till he's through, walked him back to class. I stayed in that school for about 5 or 6 years. Wasn't all bad, though. They let us paint with our fingers and make little things, but mostly just teaching us how to do stuff like tie up our shoes and slobber food or get wild and yell and holler and throw shit around. There wasn't no book learning, no speak of, except to show us how to read street signs and things that difference between the men's and the ladies' rooms. With all them serious nuts in there, it would have been impossible to conduct anything more than that anyway. Also, I think it was for the purpose of keeping us out of everybody else's hair. Who the hell wants a bunch of retards running around the loose? Even I could understand that. When I got to be 13, some pretty unusual things began to happen. First off, I started to grew 6 inches in 6 months. My mama was all the time having to let out my pants. Also, I commenced to grow out, but at the time I was 16, I was 6'6", weighed 240 pounds. I know that because they took me in and weighed me. Said just couldn't believe it. What happened next caused a real change in my life. One day I'm strolling down the street on the way home from nut school, and a car alongside of me. This guy called me over and asked my name. Told him. He asked what school I go to. How come he ain't seen me around? When I tell him about the nut school, he asked if I play football. I shook my head. I guess I might have told him I'd seen kids playing it, but they never let me play. But like I said, I ain't too good at long conversation. So I just shook my head. That was about 2 weeks after school begun again. 3 days or so later, they come and got me out of the nut school. Mum was there. So was the guy in the car. 2 other people. looked like goons, who I guess was present in case I was to start something. They took all the stuff out of my desk, put in a brown bag, told me to say goodbye to Miss Margaret, orders a sergeant to commence, start crying, give me a big old hug. Then I got to say goodbye to all the other nuts, and they was drooling on and spasming and beating on the desk with their fists. Then I was gone. Mama rode up in the front seat with the guy. I sat back in between them goons just like police done in them old movies when they took you downtown. Except we didn't go downtown. We went to the new high school they had built. When we got there, they took me inside to the principal's office, and Mama and me and the guy went in while the two goons waited in the hall. Principal was an old, grey-haired man with a stain on his tie, baggy pants, who looked like he could have come out the nut house himself. We all sat down and he began explaining things and asking questions, and I just nodded my head, but what they wanted was for me to play football. That much I figured out on my own. Turns out the guy in the car was the football coach. Name of fellas. And that day I didn't go to no class or nothing. Coach fellas, he took me back to the locker room, and one of the goons rounded me up a football suit with all them pads and stuff, and a real nice plastic helmet with a thing in front to keep my face from getting squished in. The only thing was they couldn't find no shoes to fit me, so I had to use sneakers till they could order the shoes. Coach fellas and the goons got me dressed up in football suit. Then they made me undress again, then do it all over again 10 or 20 times, till I could do it by myself. One thing I had trouble with for a while was the jockstrap thing. Couldn't see no real good reason for wearing it. Well, they tried explaining to me, and then one of the goons said to the other that I'm a dummy or something like that. Guess he thought I wouldn't understand him, but I did, on account of I pay special attention to that kind of shit. Not that it hurt my feelings. Hell, I've been called a sight worse than that. But I took notice of it nonetheless. After a while, a bunch of kids started coming into the locker room and taking out their football stuff and getting into it. Then we went outside, and Coach Fellas got everybody together as he stood me up in front of them and introduced me, saying a bunch of shit that I wouldn't follow real, because I was half scared to death on account of nobody had ever introduced me before to strangers. But afterwards, some of the others came up and shook my hand and said that I was glad I'm here. Then Coach Fellas blew a whistle, what like to me leap out of my skin, and everybody started jumping around to get exercise. Kind of long story what happened next, but anyway, I began to play football. Coach Fellas and one of the goons helped me out some special since I didn't know how to play. We had this thing where you're supposed to block people, and they were trying to explain it all, but when we tried it a bunch of times, everybody seemed to be getting disgusted because I couldn't remember what I was supposed to do. Then they tried the other thing they called the defense, where they put three guys in front of me and I'm supposed to get through them and gap the guy with the football. First part was easier because I could just shove the other guy's head down, but they were unhappy with the way I grabbed the guy with the ball. And finally, they made me get a tackle, big oak tree, about 15, 20 times to get the feel of it, I suppose. But after a while, they figured I had learnt something from the oak tree, put me back with the three guys and ball carrier. They got mad I didn't jump on him real vicious like after I moved the others out the way. I took a lot of abuse that afternoon. But when we quit practicing, I went to see Coach Fellas and told him I didn't want to jump on the guy because I was afraid of hurting him. Coach, he said that he wouldn't hurt because he was in his football suit and protected. The truth is, I wasn't so much afraid of hurting him as I was that he'd get mad at me and start chasing me again if I wasn't real nice to everybody. To make a long story short, it took me a while to get the hang of it all. Meanwhile, I go to class in the nut school. We didn't have that much to do. But here, they was far more serious about things. Somehow they had worked it out, so I had 3 homeroom classes where you just sit there and did whatever you wanted. And then 3 other classes where there was a lady who was teaching me how to read. Just the 2 of us. She was real nice and pretty. More than once, twice, I had nasty thoughts about her. Miss Henderson was her name. About the only class I liked was lunch. but I guess you couldn't call that a class. At the nut school, my mama would fix me a sandwich and a cookie and piece of fruit, except no bananas, and I'd take to school with me. But in this school, there was a cafeteria with 9, 10 different things, and eat, and I'd have trouble making up my mind what I wanted. I think somebody must have said something because after a week or so, Coach Fellas came up and say, "Go ahead and eat all I wanted because I'd been taken care of." Hot damn. Guess who should be in my homeroom class but Jenny Curran? She came up to me in the hall and say she remembered me from first grade, all grown up now, with pretty black hair, and she was long-legged and beautiful face and the other things too I dare not mention. The football was not going exactly to the liking of Coach Fellas. He seemed displeased, and a lot was always shouting at people. He shouted at me too, tried to figure out some way for me to just stay put and keep other folks from grabbing our guy carrying the ball, but that didn't work, except when they ran the ball right up the middle of the line. Coach was not too happy with my tackling neither. Let me tell you, I spent a lot of time at that oak tree. I just couldn't get to where I would throw myself at the guy like they wanted me to do. Something kept me from it. Then one day, an event happened, changed all that too. In the cafeteria, I'd started getting my food and going over to sit next to Janet Curran. Wouldn't say nothing, but she was just about the only person in school I knew halfways. Felt good sitting there with her. Most of the time, she didn't pay me no attention, talked with other people. At first, I'd been sitting with some of the football players, but they acted like I was invisible or something. At least Jenny acted like I was there. But after a while of this, I started to notice this other guy was there a lot too. Starts making wisecracks about me, saying shit like, "How's Dumbo?" and all. And this gone on for a week or two, and I was sitting saying nothing. But finally I says, "I can't believe I said it even now, but I says, I ain't no Dumbo." The guy just looked at me and just started laughing. Jenny, she say to the guy to keep quiet, but he takes a carton of milk, pours it in my lap, and I jump up and ran out because it scares me. A day or so later, that guy came up to me in the hall and says he's going to get me. All day I was afraid terribly. Later that afternoon, when I was leaving to go to the gym, there he is, with a bunch of his friends. I tried to go the other way, but he came up to me, started pushing me on the shoulders, as he's saying all kinds of bad things, calling me a stupo and all that. Then he hit me in the stomach. But it didn't hurt so much, but I was starting to cry as I turned, began to run. Heard him behind me and the others was running after me too. I just ran as fast as I could toward the gym, crossed the practice football field. Suddenly I seen Coach Fellas setting up on the bleachers watching me. The guys who was chasing me stop and go away. And Coach Fellas, he got his real peculiar look on his face and tell me to get suited up right away. A while later he came in the locker room with these plays drawn on a piece of paper. 3 of them, and say for me to memorize them best I can. That afternoon at the football practice, he lined everybody up in 2 teams. Suddenly, the quarterback gave me the ball. I'm supposed to run outside the right end of the line to the goalpost. When they all start chasing me, I run fast as I can. It was 7 or 8 of them before they could drag me down. Coach Fellas is mighty happy, jumping up and down and yelling and slapping everybody on the back. We'd run a lot of races before to see how fast we could run. But I got a lot faster when I'm being chased, I guess. What idiot wouldn't? Anyway, I became a lot more popular after that. The other guys in the team started being nicer to me. We had our first game and I was scared to death, but they gave me the ball and I ran over the goal line 2 or 3 times. People had never been kind to me after that. That high school certainly began to change things in my life. Even got to where I liked to run with the ball. Except it was mostly made me run around the sides because I couldn't get to where I like to run over people like you do in the middle. One of the goons comments, "I'm the largest high school halfback in the entire world." Do not think he meant it as a compliment. Otherwise, I was learning to read a lot better with Miss Henderson. She gave me Tom Sawyer and 2 other books I can't remember. Took them home and read them all. Then she gave me a test where I don't do so hot. But I sure enjoyed them books. After a while, I went back to sitting next to Jenny in the cafeteria. There weren't no more trouble for a long time. Then one day in springtime, I was walking home from school. Who should it be but that boy that poured the milk on my lap and chased me that day? He got himself a stick and started calling me things like moron and stupo. Some other people was watching, and then along comes Jenny, and I'm about to take off again, but then for no reason I know, I just didn't do it. That fella takes his stick and poked me in the stomach with it. And I says to myself, the hell with this, and I grabbed a hold of his arm with my other hand, knocked him upside the head, and that was the end of that, more or less. That night, my mama got a phone call from the boy's parents, say if I lay a hand on their son again, they're going to call authorities, have me put away. I tried explaining it to my mother. She says she understand, but I could tell she was worried. She tell me that since I'm so huge now, I got to watch myself, because I might hurt somebody. And I nodded and I promised I wouldn't hurt anybody else. That night when I lay in bed, I heard her crying to herself in her room. But what that did for me, knocking that boy upside the head, put a definite new light on my football playing. Next day, I asked Coach Fellas to let me run the ball straight on. He says, okay. I'll run over maybe 4 or 5 guys till I'm in the clear. And they all had to start chasing me again. That year, I made the all-state football team. Couldn't hardly believe it. Mama gave me 2 pairs of socks and a new shirt on my birthday. She done saved up and bought me a new suit that I wore to the All-State Football Award. First suit I ever had. Mama tied my tie for me and off I went. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed reading it. I don't know how well I've done. I probably haven't done too good, but to be honest, it's not easy to read. It's written, weirdly enough, it's written in the way that Forrest would, if you've seen the films, that's why I'm like putting on, I'm probably putting on accents that go all over the place, because it's literally how it's written. It's really hard not to. Like, you try not to mimic what you've seen in the movie, so you're just trying to read naturally and be a bit more normal. But like I say, the wording is literally how he would do it. It's weird. It's not written as an author would naturally write, an educated author. It's written in the style that Forrest is writing this. So some of the wording is crazy, the way that it's littered. Like figuring, it's like literally, it's just the Figgerin. There's no G on the end. So it's all like missing bits, you know. But it's done in such a way that you know it's for that purpose. Just trying to see if there's any other like easy ones to do. Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to just pick out certain parts, but yeah, I would suggest people look into, if you like the film. I'm interested now, because what I didn't know, like just to find this cover, for instance, because I wanted the actual book cover, and it turns out that is the book cover. So if it's different, we'd use a different one in the bottom corner there. But it turns out there's another book, a follow up. Something, I think it's Forrest and Co. or something, or Gump and Co. I can't remember what it's called, but it's worth looking it up, because there's a follow up. So it's a sequel. So we never got a sequel film, but there's a sequel book. I'm not sure if both books are the film, or if it's just, I think I would have assumed that is literally a follow up. So now I'm invested. And as we're seeing there, just reading that, there's certain scenes that's not in the film. But you can only the film was long enough, wasn't it? But it's quite obvious there's going to be things in this book that was never involved in the film. So that's going to be, yeah, that's good. Like I said, I don't know how I did. I just really, what I want to do is get people interested in reading. And I enjoy reading anyway, so like it gives me a bit of sort of inspiration as well. So anyway, hopefully that was okay. Obviously, I'm gonna have to watch it back, but I'm hoping it weren't a train wreck. None of the books are particularly easy, because you have to think of the accent, you have to think of the character, you have to think of all the characters there. So many things. A lot of time you don't know until you've read it. You can't preempt something, you know, especially when someone says something. You can't know who said it until after they've said it. It's a strange thing with books. Anyway, hopefully this gets people interested in books.